Lots of people talk about chasing their dreams, but how many actually do it? Welcome to the Pursue Your Passion podcast with Tyler Kammerman. We're going to introduce you to people who are intentionally pursuing their passion every day. Through their stories of success and their struggles, you'll gain insight into how to better begin or continue your journey. Now here's Tyler with today's guest.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Pursue Your Passion podcast. So excited that you are with me today. Today on the show, we've got another great guest. I know I say that almost every time, but I really mean it this time. Sarah is awesome. Sarah Noll Wilson is on a mission to help leaders build and rebuild teams. Her goal is to empower leaders to understand and honor the beautiful complexity of the humans they serve. Through her work as an executive coach and in-demand keynote speaker, researcher, contributor to the Harvard Business Review, and best-selling author of Don't Feed the Elephants, Sarah helps leaders close the gap between what they intend to do and the actual impact they make, which is an incredible, that's awesome. So I do want to highlight also, she has 15 years plus in leadership development. She's got her master's degree from Drake in leadership development and a BA from the University of Northern Iowa in theater. Woo woo. When she isn't helping people build and rebuild relationships, she enjoys playing games with her husband, Nick, who is also a super cool dude. I know that, and cuddling their fur baby, Sally. So, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Excited to talk.
Yes, we're both good at that. So this should be
this will be fine.
Action-packed, 45 minutes or so. So I mentioned that I know Nick. So Sarah's husband and I have worked on some projects in the past, and then I got reconnected with Sarah through the West Des Moines Leadership Academy, which if you've been with me since the beginning, you know that is kind of what kicked this whole podcast into gear. So this is coming full circle. I'm glad to see your face and glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Awesome. So you've been busy. The book came out within the last 6 months or a year.
Yeah, 8.
And, 8. Is that right?
We're at 8 now because I was always like, it's 6. People are like, I think you're at 8 now. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Awesome. So you've got a lot going on. Tell us about the passion or passions that you are intentionally pursuing right now.
Like right now, not necessarily my journey, because that's a different.
Right now, and then there's a really good chance I'm going to go back to the journey.
You don't have to. Well, okay, so I'm going to answer that a couple of different ways.
Awesome.
So one of the passions I'm exploring that is really just something that gives me an incredible amount of joy. So I'm pursuing it from the place of it makes me really happy. It is not something I'm pursuing for any kind of financial gain. I've been working for the last few years on playing the accordion and learning about how to fix accordions. And so that's like when people are like, what are you doing that brings you joy? Like I play and I collect accordions.
That is amazing. Accordion. Now, what drew you to the accordion?
Yeah. So, I know how to play the piano. I love a good polka or waltz. Like my husband and I joke that my heart beats in 3/4 time because I'm very, very moved. All the songs I like are 3/4 time, and I don't realize that. But my grandpa had a small accordion, a little 12 bass, and after he passed, my dad inherited it because he's the one who gave it to him. And actually, before the pandemic, I was like, can I have his accordion and try to figure out how to play it? And my dad was like, you can't have it, but you can borrow it. And I was like,
sure,
okay, I'll borrow it because no one else is playing it. And I didn't understand anything about it. Playing the accordion is, playing the keyboard vertically is very different than playing it horizontally. And then I've learned even more so how much more different and complicated it is as an instrument. But the fun story is literally as the pandemic, we were going into shutdown. I hadn't figured out how to play it. It kind of just was sitting there. And my neighbor, her young son at the time was turning 5, and he was just so depressed because all of his birthday party plans had to get canceled. It was that week of March when literally like the shutdown happened. And I said, would he mind being serenaded if I could figure out how to play? So, so I pulled out my accordion. I taught myself happy birthday and I played, he was on the porch and I played from the yard and we filmed it. And of course my social media person was like, we need to share that on social media. I was like, it's terrible. I don't,
100%.
yeah, I mean, why not? But what was so fascinating and cool is that somebody on Twitter, some random guy responded and was like, oh, it's cool to see somebody young playing the accordion. If you ever want to talk shop, let me know. And I was like, that's an interesting inquiry, but
Right.
nothing on his profile said anything about accordions. And, and to be honest, like being a female on the internet, like it might go bad. It might go bad.
Right.
And it could be cool. I was like, this is either going to be amazing or I'm going to get like inappropriate photos. So I Google him and he's literally a world-class accordion player.
Wow.
And because he was in complete shutdown from touring, he gave me lessons. And so I had the chance to connect, and now I'm like good friends with one of the world's best accordion players. And he wasn't the right teacher for me because he's used to like working, like lesson 2, he was trying to teach me music theory. And I was like, I just want to know what these buttons do. Like,
Yeah.
just
Right.
teach me
What's
that.
this one do?
Yeah. So that was the start. And then sadly during the pandemic, I developed a frozen shoulder and I couldn't play for about a year and a half. And so that was my goal of like, I want to get my shoulder back in order to play. And then I went on a auction spree of just trying to get accordions. And now I have 8.
As you do.
Right. 3 that are broken because accordions are actually quite fragile. But I've been taking lessons for a year and a half now, and it just brings me a lot of joy.
That is really cool. So the minute you said accordion, I have a very vivid picture in my mind. There is
Yeah.
a restaurant in Las Vegas called, I think it's Batista's Hole in the Wall. And it's not far off the strip, but it is literally this little hole in the wall Italian restaurant. And we've been there a couple times. This is a decade ago, but there's this old Italian man. I hate to say this, but I bet he's passed because he was probably 95 then.
Sure.
But he was like 4'5" and like walking around playing this accordion. So every time I hear accordion now, I see this man at this restaurant in Las Vegas, and just so joyful going around, playing all these old Italian, so it was great. Anyway,
I love that.
No.
Well, but I think that's part of it is I have yet to meet someone that when I either talk about or share that it's like, it is a really happy instrument.
Yeah.
It's quirky, it's unusual. And there is something that, somebody always has a story. It's always like, oh, my aunt used to play, or my grandpa used to play. And so a lot of times people will have stories, or other people will just be like really fascinated by it. So I mean, that's part of what I love too. So it's not uncommon. Sometimes if I'm in a bit of an emotional lull, I'll put a post out to offer up private concerts for people. And and sometimes like at the time that I started doing that, I could play like 4th songs, like beginner book, like so not even that well.
Yeah. Mary Had a Little
And
Lamb.
yeah, like classic Americana, Home on the Range and On Top of Old Smoky and all those that people love. But yeah, and part of what I love about it is, as somebody who owns a business means I'm thinking about my business 24/7. As somebody with ADHD means my brain is rarely slow. And it's challenging enough that it's one of the few things I can do that settles my brain. In fact, I was playing recently and I was playing a more complicated song. And then as soon as I stopped, I was, hey, Nick, I was thinking about this with the business. He's like, you're not playing hard enough songs because you shouldn't be thinking about the business as you're playing. And I was like, okay, time to level up. So that's something that I, and as somebody who for most of my adult career and adult life, so much of my focus was on pursuing the work and pursuing my mission. And that has been great and fulfilling. It's not often that I've found a hobby that stuck. And so I just love it. Like just last night, I recorded some songs to send to my folks because I love hearing it. And I have a friend in Canada who's always like, I want to know what you're working on. And it's just been, it's been a great, great gift.
That is so cool. And I think that what you just said is very applicable to a lot of us,
Mhm.
and probably a lot of people that listen to this show. It's, yeah, a lot of the people that I talk to, and probably, at least part of our conversation is going to be about what you're doing, on the business side of things.
Yeah.
But we lose sight of the fact that sometimes that passion is going to be outside of work, or that second passion, or that,
Yeah.
or that even that main passion, is
Mhm.
because work isn't fulfilling, so
Mhm.
we need to go and find that thing that is, for you it
Yeah.
sounds like it's more of a reset, for lack of a better word,
Yeah,
or
it's a recharge, right?
yeah,
Yeah, for
recharge. Yep,
sure.
I like that better than reset, but take your mind off of the, like you said, business owner 24/7. But then for somebody else, it might be, gosh, this job really is not where I saw myself. So what can I do? Because, one thing that now I'm going to forget what show it was, but we were talking about how passionate workers, whether they're necessarily passionate about the work that they're doing, are gonna do better work than non-passionate
Yeah,
workers.
for
So
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, even if your passion is coming from being an ultra marathoner to go do
Mhm.
your accounting job better, that passion keeps people, engaged and doing hopefully better work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and on some, a couple of things that were coming up for me as you were talking is when there's something really authentic, um, and sometimes vulnerable, maybe even when we go after things that bring us joy,
Mm,
right? That we're giving ourselves permission to play, and we're giving ourselves permission to be happy, and we're also, depending on the situation, maybe illustrating for the world, this is who I am, right? It says something about me that I'm not playing the piano, I'm playing the accordion, right? It
right.
says something about my values. It says something about, right, like, no surprise, I like novelty and playfulness, and right, like, and the other thing that I was thinking about is, um, I think it's important to have those passions even when the work you're doing you're passionate about, because like for me, I love I love what I do. There's, not a day that goes by where I don't have a moment and I go, this is amazing that this is the work I get to do. And and there's still a cost to that, right? And so
Mm,
like having
yeah,
having places where you can reconnect with different sides of yourself, I mean, it only can make you better, like to the point you're making, it can only make you better in other aspects of your life. But and I also think, especially right now, as we're coming into whatever this phase of, of the pandemic that we're in, we know that we know we're in a mental health crisis as a result of that. We know resiliency is low. And honestly, like, my therapist said once, and it really resonated with me, is that, in times when everything feels hard, joy doesn't always happen organically. We have to seek it out, and we have to nurture it.
that's good.
And right. And that was really provocative for me to go, how do I make sure I'm constantly nurturing joy, and things that light me up, or even make me feel light, right? Like for
Yeah,
me, when I'm pursuing my passion, sometimes there can be an intensity, and I also love it when it's just like, oh, I just feel lighter because I'm doing X.
yeah, that's really good. I don't know if you've heard of John Acuff's book
Mm.
Soundtracks.
Mhm.
Well,
Mhm.
his daughters wrote one.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't read
Yeah,
it, but mhm.
I'm reading it, and it's, I mean, it's geared to high school and college age.
Sure.
But my daughter, she's 9, and she's starting to develop some negative self talk, and
Sure.
so I
Yeah.
saw this, and I'm like, I'm just gonna get it. She thinks above 9-year-old level. She definitely doesn't think at high school or college
Yeah.
level. But
Yeah.
we've been reading about it, and just last night, the
Mm.
chapter that we were reading was talking about when you find yourself in a dark place, and I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah.
when you find yourself in a down place or a dark place, find things to be grateful for.
Mm.
And I thought about that, and similar, not exactly to what you just said, but it really made me go, gosh, I know that, but I don't do that. I
Yeah.
mean, sometimes it's the simple things that, hey, if you're in a funk, make your brain think about the things that are good. And that's what your therapist said about sometimes you have to, joy doesn't come organically. Sometimes you
Yeah.
have to make it happen. And I think maybe that's a very simple way, but one way that we can do that is like, hey, you've got to shift your brain to start thinking about the things that are good and don't keep going
Yeah.
down that nasty spiral.
Yeah. And well, and to that point, I mean, and sometimes we can't turn off that, right? Especially if we're
Right.
challenged with mental illness, or maybe they're like our living situation, or right. But how do we, I think of it like, for me anyway, I think of it like, how do I open up the curtain to see more of what's in front of me? Because I think
Right.
sometimes, especially in America, we have this very like hyper positivity, chasing happiness, which is actually quite toxic for like from an
Right.
emotional perspective. And so when I think about that, it's not like how do I shut it off, but it's like how do I make space for more that I'm not seeing, because like right, what we focus on grows. And so how do I, and in the act of holding gratitude, it can make the discomfort or pain I'm feeling less. And it's interesting you bring that up. When I in 2013, when I was diagnosed with panic disorder, um, one of the strategies I used was a gratitude list, and it was really hard at first.
Yeah.
Um, it was really hard because I was just like, I'm losing my mind every day. I don't feel great. And there was a moment actually that sort of seared into my brain. And I remember I was sitting at my desk at my company, and that was just my routine. First thing in the morning before I log in, I wrote the 3 things I was grateful for. And one day I just stopped and went, man, I'm really grateful for me. And then I just started like crying because
Yeah.
I'd never had given myself that kind of love, and like I'm really proud of the path I've been on. So I love that you brought up that as a
Yeah.
as a
That's
practice.
powerful. Yeah. Yeah. And I think what you said too, it's not always possible to shut it off. Another thing that's really hit me from that book is it's not a switch, it's a dial.
Yeah,
They've said that
right. I
numerous
love
times.
that. I love
I thought
that.
it
I
was
love
so
that.
good because it's not a
Yeah.
switch. It's a,
Yeah.
can I turn it this way
Just
one
just a
notch?
little bit. Yeah, like, it's
Yeah.
like, can I turn up my bass a little bit, and can I or turn up my treble and turn down my bass just a
Yeah.
little bit? Like, it's all there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. What now Megan Trainor would disagree because it's all about
Sure.
that bass,
Yeah, right. It's
right?
all about the bass.
Um, Sorry.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. Took me a second,
Sometimes
and
I'm
then I knew where
clever.
you were going.
Sometimes I feel like I need to be clever. No, that's awesome. And I love that you shared the accordion. That's fantastic. So
Yeah.
good. So good.
I mean, I got
So
lots of things I'm pursuing, but that's the
yeah,
one when you're like, "What?" In this moment, I
right.
was like, in this moment,
Right.
that's the thing that I wish I could just do all day.
Yeah. So in addition to playing the accordion, you've got a
Yeah.
few other balls in the air, right?
Mhm.
Speaker, podcaster, leadership development, all of the things. Tell us how your how tell us a little bit about the dream. I know that's a
Yeah.
really broad question, but maybe that's a good place to start.
It is, and I'll try to give the abridged version, because I was a theater major in undergraduate, and I moved to Des Moines to chase a boy, and that worked out. And then got a job in insurance like every good Des Moines person does. So I could have my nights free and to be able to do insurance, or not to have insurance, not to do insurance. And it's interesting. So just a quick little story that I think
Please.
is relevant. When I was in my acting practice, I was studying with a teacher who was real tough. And I remember the first class of one of the higher levels acting classes, and he came in and he said, if you can see yourself doing anything other than acting, then get the F out of my class. Because right, the industry is so brutal.
Right.
The vast majority of people don't make a living at it. That really the only people that the majority of people that are successful at it have been at it a while, and they can like only see themselves doing that. And I remember when he asked that, thinking to myself, like, shit, I can see myself doing a lot of different things. Like, should I leave?
Right.
Should I?
Yeah.
But the question then became, what is that for me? Like, what is the thing for me that I can only see myself doing? And for me, it was always like teaching, learning,
Sure.
something in that space. And so, I mean, and this, and it's a good example of sometimes I think as adults, we don't do enough things we're bad at. I think that we want quick and we underestimate what we can do over a longer period of time, right?
Yeah.
And when I got into insurance, I was really interested in how could I make the learning better on my team, and was fortunate to take risks and to bring my education background. But then I became just fascinated because in theater there was a really high level of trust and vulnerability.
Right.
There had to be, because of the risks we were taking, because of the vulnerability we were taking, because of the creativity that was needed, right? Barriers needed to come down much faster. And it was almost like culture shock to go into corporate America, where the only thing people ever talked about was what was on whatever reality TV show.
Right.
And because I remember being like, is this all we talk about? We don't talk about our feelings. We don't talk about, like, we're not creative. We're not pondering life's big questions. We aren't like, and
Flip side, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm just thinking, because I'm thinking this is about the same time period.
yeah.
I like early 2000s. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's when I was in LA, and all these reality shows were all the actors were like, "What is going
Oh,
on? All
yeah,
the
for
jobs are
sure.
going to
Yeah.
reality shows." So anyway,
People
you said
who
that. I'm like,
have
oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. So
egos and yeah.
right, yeah,
No,
right.
I mean, it was prime, for people who are listening who weren't around then, like everything was reality shows. Just
Everything.
that was it. There was no Breaking Bad. There was no like nothing. It was just, and I became really fascinated, having worked for managers that were incredible and managers who weren't, about that dynamic and the role that they
Mm,
played in creating
yeah,
safety. And so my passion really started with training. Like, I just wanted to help people learn and wanted to help them learn more. And there was a turning point, though, because I had the opportunity to attend a manager training. And the people who were training it were trainers, but they weren't managers, and they had never managed people. So they could deliver the content really effectively, but they couldn't
mhm,
answer any of the questions. They couldn't
sure.
actually help people think about or problem solve the reality. And that was a turning point for me, because I thought, if I want to pursue leadership training, right? Because in my mind, it was training at the time, because that
Yeah,
was all I was exposed to, not development. I need to be a leader. And so, and I share that from a standpoint of, sometimes I think when people are thinking about their path or pursuing their purpose, they want it to be very obvious: A plus B equals C.
yes,
And really, it's like, I like to think of it like a river that's cutting its path, right? And so what are the different, what's interesting to me now, and how do I explore that? And so, had I kept on the path of, I want to be a trainer, I probably would have been successful, right? I'd like to think
sure.
I would have been, but I made the realization of, like, oh, if I'm going to be effective at this, I need to actually understand what it's like to lead teams. I need to know what that experience is. This person couldn't answer questions about firing someone because they had never done it. Not that I was seeking that out, but and so I spent quite a few years getting as much management experience, and at the same time, just learning as much as I can. And again, I think that's the
Right.
other thing, is something I see people get caught into, particularly from a work perspective, is they want their leader, or they want their company to provide them with all of the development opportunities for things they're interested in. And while ideally they would help support and supplement, they're never going to do all of it.
Right.
And right. And nor can we expect them to, because it is your passion. And I actually had a really powerful someone kind of smacking me upside the head moment, because I had applied for a training position, was turned down, and was really frustrated. I was venting to my coworker, like, Nancy never gives me any opportunities. She never, right? And I was just like, how am I gonna like grow into this person I want to be, if she's not, like, she's my barrier to it. And I'll never forget my colleague, wise woman, said, like, why are you giving your future to her?
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good because you're right.
You're supposed to validate me
Yeah,
here,
I
not
want you to
challenge
vent
me.
with me. I'm seeking you out for I'm being an unhealthy flock response right now. And, and she was the one who's like, so if you're not going to get it here, where are you going to get it from? And so that is what set me on the path of what books can I read? Who else can I talk to? Right. That's what, me talking to the manager of the training department with whom I didn't have a relationship with, but was like, hey, I'm interested in this. Like, what do you recommend? She's the one who introduced me to the program at Drake that I didn't know existed, wasn't even thinking about going to school. Right. And so that's where, when we talk about like pursuing your passion, again, I think sometimes people want it to be really obvious,
Right.
but part of it is also just like enjoying the exploration and seeing and discovering what you like and what you don't like, because there's as much value in figuring out what you don't like as there is in what you do like. And
Absolutely.
being right and being able to ask people like, oh, you're doing something I would love to do someday, how did you do it and where did you start, and all of that, because that's the other trap I see folks fall into, especially if there's something they want to do and they see someone else doing it, is they don't realize what it took for that person to get there,
Yeah.
and they're like, I want to get to where you are. And it's like, great, this is what it took for me to get here. Your journey will be different. And so, yeah. And so I was so fortunate to have resources and to have the opportunities. But then when I moved to my last company before I started my own ROG, which is a legal insurance company, I was really fortunate that my life intersected with a couple of my leaders. And that really opened the eye for development doesn't just have to be tactical or technical. We can develop the whole person, right? That was around the same time I was going through my panic disorder. So I was in this big discovery of mental health and wellness and all of that. And so my, what that's evolved into now where we are in our work is, I mean, honestly, I just want to reduce harm in the workplace. Like, I know that it's not as powerful to move away from something as it is to move towards something. But if I
Sure.
were to stop, there's a lot of harm that happens in the workplace, and I want to do whatever I can and to create higher levels of safety. And so we lovingly say that we want to help leaders people better. So
Yeah.
that's kind of a long about journey, but you know, I I, I was speaking a number of years ago. I was speaking with this group of seniors from University of Northern Iowa, their School of Business. And they were asking me about my journey, my story. And I think I hadn't even gone on my own at that point, but I think I was making that transition. And one of the seniors was like, I love everything you shared. And I love how confident you are and how clear you are about your path. And she got emotional. She said, I want that, but I don't want it to take 12 years. And I was just like,
Mm.
but that's what it took. That's what it
Yeah.
took for me. So like I am where I am because of all of that. And being willing to try different things and experiment and to explore. And so I think that's again a really important, like, don't underestimate what you can do in 5-10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's so good. One thing that you said kind of early on in your journey that again, I'm selling John Acuff's daughter's book here on this episode today because I'm in it, but
Yeah, no,
one of
that's
one of
great.
their one of their mantras that they have with their family that I want to implement in ours is be brave enough to be bad at something.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I mean, just again, simple to the point, but it's like, don't be if and I think, gosh, I just think if I had my high school and college years to do over, what other amazing stuff could I have done if I wouldn't have been afraid, to be a rookie, to be bad at something.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's, I mean, like, and I go and when we give our younger self grace, because like, one, our brains aren't fully developed,
Right.
and so like
Right.
the threats all seem much bigger because our amygdala is an adult amygdala, but
Yes.
our prefrontal cortex can't balance it out yet,
And they
and
talk about that too.
yeah, well, and it's a different world now. I mean, like, I love that young people are talking about this stuff. I mean, nobody was talking about that. I mean, we weren't
Right.
even talking about mental health
Yeah. Yep.
Like, I mean, that's a relatively new shift in our vocabulary. And I love hearing young people talk about like, yeah, no, I go to therapy. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I wish I would have learned some of this stuff earlier and not when I was losing my mind in my 30s. But like, yeah, I love that. Well, and I was reading an article and I forget who wrote it, but they were talking about like, as people get older, they do fewer things that they're bad at, and part of that is time, right? Part of that is, resources, but some of that is also, um, yeah, I mean, we just sort of lose our willingness to suck.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, so one of our mantras that we developed early on with the company, because I was finding myself like, I don't want to put this out until it's right. Right. A little
Yeah.
bit of perfectionism. And so our mantra is you can't get to version 10 without version 1. So let's put out version 1.
That's
And
good.
right. And trust that we'll figure it out. And it's, like we've done that with the show. I even had to hold that with the book because, writing a book, doing a bad presentation is temporary.
Right.
Writing a bad book is permanent.
There's a lot of people that can have a copy of a bad book.
You bet. You bet. You bet. And no one else sees my, feedback on sessions, but everyone sees the feedback on the book. And being okay, for me, my writing the book, the mantra was, this is just a snapshot of who you are. And probably by the time it publishes, you will be a different person and will be thinking different. And this is just a snapshot. And that's already been wildly true.
That's so good. Because that's on my list.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Everyone
sure.
should do it because it's hard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
And vulnerable.
Another great point. Everybody should do it because it's hard. Yeah. Whether it's writing a book or whatever, like you have to push yourself. And
Yeah.
I brought it back to the kids because that's the book that I'm reading. But you're right. I mean, be brave enough to be bad at something now. I mean, yeah, it's great that I want to tell that to my 9 and 11-year-old, but it's like I need to be telling that to my friends.
Yeah.
I just
And the best way that you can like teach your children this is doing it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's, like so I mean, we had a phrase in my improv days, which was it's very technical.
Yeah.
We called it sell your poo. Like when you're failing on stage, fail gloriously.
Yeah.
Just fail
I love
gloriously. It. Like, don't go small. Just be like, I know this isn't working, and I'm actually just going to double down because we all know it's not working. And so instead of being like, oh, I'm coming in, that wasn't good, that wasn't smart, and shrinking, it's just like, we all know this is bad, and we're all going to like do it gloriously together.
That is, yeah, that
might not be the phrase you put on a shirt, but
no, but I love it. We and maybe this is a collaboration down the road, although I keep putting it out there and somebody else is going to write it. But me and a buddy, when we were in LA, talked about how there's, we could write the sales book for actors or acting for salespeople, and about how all the theater games can be used to make you better at sales and all that stuff. And you're just talking about improv and yeah, I mean, sometimes I think the best thing that anybody could do, no matter what job they're in, would be to take an improv class. And for some people, it would be the worst thing they've ever done in their life, but it would still be good for them.
It was the greatest training grounds in getting comfortable with failure, because probably half of even good improv will fail.
Right.
And the risks are high because people have paid to be entertained by something that hasn't happened yet. And it took me a long time to be okay with that, because if we'd have a bad show, or if I felt like I had a bad show, I would get into just like ruminating and spiraling or being mad at my colleagues or whatever the case is. And then in truth, there was a turning point with some scene mates, some friends, where it just like, it was off the rails. It was such a bad, and we all kind of looked at each other like, we're going to like fly this ship down to the ground gloriously. And something completely changed in that moment. And, and that's something that has served me certainly personally when I'm on stage now. It's just like it's all like you can figure it all out. Like
Yeah.
nothing, right? I mean, I do. I think everyone should do improv because I think it'll humble you and it'll
Oh man.
expand you in ways you'll never even realize.
Absolutely. So you just said when I'm on stage now, do you still do theater, improv, both?
No, when
No.
I am presenting, I
Speaking.
mean, obviously
Yes.
when I'm
Yeah. Yeah.
speaking or we're in workshops, it's
Yeah.
there's not much that phases me. Even if
Yeah.
it's something that I say wrong, or even if it's, a moment that, if I'm doing because some of our work, keynotes are different. They're fairly, they're sort of structured, the audience is there. But when
Yeah.
we're doing the actual like deeper work with teams of talking about the real issues that they're navigating, freeing the elephants, sitting in the heat together, a lot of emotional heat comes up. And being able to sit with that discomfort and navigate that, I mean, I definitely credit improv one part of that, of being able to hold steady in those moments.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. That is 100% true. Hey, I want to ask you a question that I love asking people.
Yeah.
Tell us about your dreams as a kid, or if that's easier to phrase as what did 7-year-old or 10-year-old Sarah want to be?
Yeah, it's interesting because like 10-year-old Sarah wasn't confident enough to like she wanted what everyone else was. So everyone
Yeah.
else wanted to be a or a marine biologist. She was going to be a marine biologist.
Yeah.
Um, I think the thing that has always been true for me, I don't think, I know, let me rephrase that. The thing that's always been true for me, even when I was younger, is wanting to help people learn and
Sure.
challenging the status quo. Like even as a young age, especially as a young woman, I got told no a lot. And I was always like, why? Okay, I'll show you. So there's something, when I think of younger Sarah, I think there's always this thread of wanting to help, right? Like I think a lot of kids, you play teacher and we had a blackboard and I loved that. Um, but I also really enjoyed pushing boundaries on like rules that were set that limited people. Like I didn't articulate it like that as a kid. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I was
Sure.
an 8-year-old sitting there and thinking that, but it was very much like, no, okay, why can't girls be altar boys?
Right.
All right, well, I'm going to keep showing up and I'm going to keep doing this. Or why can't we have good relationships between these two schools that are, or why can't I wear this clothes? Like I always, probably sometimes to my parents' chagrin, like was always wanting to just like, how do we do it differently? And I realized part of that is because I think instinctively I knew that these rules was limiting people and causing harm in some cases.
Mm.
Right. So
Yeah, that's really good.
also, younger Sarah talked a lot, and so now that I get paid for speaking, it feels very appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. That's there's another similarity there. I think
Yeah,
when my kids get in trouble for talking too much in school, I'm like, well, I mean, that's not surprising to me.
sure.
I think it was a fifth grade teacher that said I had diarrhea of the mouth.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. And then later
Yeah,
accused
so no
some,
wonder you're a salesperson.
right. Right.
But no,
Although
continue your
I
story.
try
What
to
was
tell myself that I do a better job of listening than I did when I
Yeah,
was in fifth grade. So,
sure. Yeah, yeah. I've had to really work on that skill, right? I mean, most people aren't born listeners. That's
right. That is
the
true. That
reality.
is true. But especially it's especially challenging for those of us who like to hear our own voices a lot.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and are comfortable. Yeah, absolutely.
Great point. Comfortable,
Mhm,
rather than taking a negative connotation,
mhm.
rather than being cynical about it, are comfortable with our own voice. Very good point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely. So, uh, tell me about what has been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome on this journey, or the biggest setback that you've had to overcome, and talk us through that a little bit.
Once I became very clear about what I wanted to do and became very clear about we'll figure it out. I actually don't feel like I've experienced a lot of challenges in the recent past. So that's not to say we don't have external factors. Pandemic was incredibly challenging, right? But again, because we have this mindset, we'll figure it out. And that doesn't mean that there aren't times where you're really stressed. So I want to just kind of setting this up because your question is making me reflect, because I go, I don't really feel like not that we don't have challenges, I just don't view them as insurmountable.
Sure.
Like we'll
Sure.
figure them out.
Yeah.
But if I
Well, that's
go,
mindset right there. I mean, that's a
yeah,
great,
yeah.
great perspective just for people listening. That nugget right there, you know?
Yeah, I've got lots of challenges, right? This year was both like the most amazing year and the hardest year for our business. And, we came into this year, with way fewer clients than when we normally have booked. The first half was like really challenging financially. Now we're going to end the year like with best revenue we've ever had.
Wow.
And so I say that from the standpoint of like, there were parts of this year that sucked and there were parts of this year that were amazing, and all at the same time, right? Like, oh, we launched the book and oh, I'm contributing to Harvard. This is incredible. Oh,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that we have like enough prospects coming through because I'm not a salesperson. I just want to do the work. And, but when I think about going on 5 years now that the company will have been in existence in a full state, there's nothing that's like, oof, we really had to overcome that. But previous to that, two really big challenges. The first, and that probably took me, in earnest, like 8 years to work through was, am I worthy to be on stage? Am I worthy to be in front of people? What do I have to share? So from like a personal challenge, that was substantial. Somebody would ask, like, when I finally made the decision to go on my own, I had the question asked just 100 times, aren't you afraid? Like, which was really interesting, their perspective and projection, because my friends who were already in businesses were like, it was about damn time. I can't wait. Right.
That's awesome.
But when people would ask that question, my response was almost always, I used to be scared. That's why I didn't do it before. And I'm not now, because I know I'll figure it out. And so
good.
And so I was really fortunate to have some really great mentors who were encouraging, and like, you have some like how you show up or whatever. Just really encouraging they saw the gifts that I couldn't see in myself. And one professor's like, you just need to be one step ahead of the audience. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I need to have all these credentials and I need to have all these degrees and I need to have all of this, right? Like I called that voice, not yet, Nancy. Not yet, Nancy told me, not yet, Sarah. Not yet. You're not ready yet. You're not qualified yet. So that was one challenge that was fairly significant. The other challenge that actually that has been over the last couple of years, but now I feel like I'm on the other side of it, was when I got diagnosed with ADHD. Because when I moved from the structure of corporate America, where my focus was very clear, where I had external pressure, where I had a boss who understood my brain more than maybe I did at that time, who could help me. The thing with ADHD for some people, for me in particular, is that one of the things that is a consequence of not being able to be your best self in a world that wasn't made for you is sometimes a lot of shame. And so like that was something I had to really work through and when I say shame, I mean shame when the moments that, like, when ADHD would really present itself as a barrier to me being effective, forgetting things, not writing things down, not keeping track of things, would just like trigger a really big spiral. And so that's always the thing that I have to be, it's a real short path in my brain to get on that shame train. And so I have to be very careful that I don't board, that I can just see it go by.
Yeah.
And so when you think about challenges, like, yeah, were there things we had to figure out financially? Yeah. But like we had people to ask questions about, like, it didn't feel, again, insurmountable. It was like, who do I know? Who can I ask? Or who do I need to have in my life to help me with this? I think that's the thing that also has become really easier for me and more comfortable, is just like asking people. Instead of, and even that, I say that there hasn't been challenges, but now as I'm like talking through this a little bit, like, it's always internal, right? It's the internal, like the beliefs I have about myself. Like, am I going to be able to grow this business? Am I the right person to be able to scale it? I was a theater major. Theater majors aren't taught about finances. They're taught about how to, like, be resourceful in that sense, but not like financial spreadsheets and marketing strategy and all of that. And So I feel like anytime I've felt like there's a challenge that was really draining my energy and taking a lot of emotional bank, if you will, like deposit or not deposits, but
Withdrawals.
not withdrawals. Thank you.
Yeah.
The emotional withdrawals is usually some belief I have about myself that I need to work through and change. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once it changes for me anyway, once I can get to that other side, like I don't go back. But sometimes it can take me a while to get to that point. Like,
sure.
oh, shame train. Okay, nope, we're good.
Yeah. I'm leaving the shame train at the station.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I love that you said clarity, because I think that is, and there's you need that clarity in order to move forward. But I think in a way you also said that sometimes, when the clarity's not there, you still have to put one foot in front of the other and then keep working toward that clarity.
Okay, so I think you'll appreciate this, because one of the things that was such a powerful metaphor for me, because when I first started, everyone was like, you have to be really clear about your niche. You have to be really clear about your audience. You got to be really clear about, right? And like, that's all valuable. But some of it is you're just making this shit up because, sorry, I don't know if I can swear. You're making it up because you're like, I think this is who I want to serve. I think this is what I want to do. But on some level, I'm not going to know that until I actually get into it and and so the way that we think about it as, because, people will, I've had people comment like, you just keep evolving. And I was like, it's like an eye exam. For me, it's like an eye exam. I don't know if you've ever had your eyes tested for glasses, but right?
Absolutely.
So people who haven't, right? They have a series of lenses and they go 1 or 2. And you go 2. 2 is clear. Then they go 2 or 3. And then you decide what's clear. And then 3 or 4 and you decide what's clear. I feel like that is how I've embraced the evolution, is like, oh yeah, 1 was clear. Nope. 1 or 2. Nope. 2 is clear now. 2 or 3. 3 is clear now. And so so for people who are like, oh, I'm not clear yet, like you might not start with it being clear, but if you keep just going like this, okay, yeah, I'm going to explore that. Oh, now it's this. Oh, now that's, and it's not that it's moving you away or you're, again, it's that river cutting through.
Yeah.
But the clarity does start to emerge as you're trying things, as you're experimenting, as you're testing things out. And so I always think of it as like, when it's like, oh, we're going to just tweak our language a little bit about how we talk about our work. Because now it's like, it's not 3 or 4, it's 4, right? Like 4 is where we're clear. And that's been a gift for me, and also in how I articulate it with people, because some people can be like, oh, you kind of like made a lot of changes. And I mean, none of it was really actually that significant. But when you have team members who like real consistency, and I'm like, well, things are much more consistent now. But the other thing I'll say about clarity is my experience has been with myself and with the people that we work with, the clients that we support, is that when you are able to get clarity, whether that's about your values, whether that's about your boundaries, whether that's about the impact you want to have on yourself and on others, that clarity almost always leads to conviction. And that conviction is what leads to courage. Right. And so it's like, for me, that's the path. And I try not to rush the clarity, because I know it will emerge when it needs to emerge. It's in the operating system. I just haven't tapped into it yet. But once that's clear, then it's like, oh, no, okay, now I have a sense of conviction, and now I can take risks because I know that this matters. Like going back to the accordion, the thing that I hate performing for people. Like I know it seems strange because I literally spent most of my life performing for people. And now I'm in front of people. I get such terrible stage fright. So like for me, it's like my push is, I'm going to like set up shop, some street corner in the skywalk system, and I'm just going to play.
Yes.
And it terrifies me, but like, because like, I'm so clear about how I want to show up in the world and have that like conviction now, it's just like, yeah, I can take that risk. Like that's not going to break me.
That is phenomenal. Please let me know when that's happening, because I'll come by and
I think there will be a virtual concert on Christmas Eve. That's what we did last year with my family. So that might happen again. But I need to figure out the legalities of it.
Yeah.
That's the rule. There's the rule follower in me, is like, I don't want to get busted by the cops.
Right. I don't know if busking is
I was like
legal in the Skywalker.
Right. I don't
especially
exactly
accordion music. They might have a
Yeah.
whole other code for that.
And just being like, yeah, it might suck because I don't like playing for people. But yeah, that I mean that's a non I don't want to say non-important because it is important because that actually like anytime you take risks, you grow, right? So I don't want to minimize that. But that courage also extends to, when I became clear that the work I wanted to do was to help leaders build and rebuild teams. Not that that was the language at the time. Then
Yeah.
taking the risk of starting my business didn't seem as scary. Not that it wasn't scary, it was, but it didn't seem as scary, right? Just because I had way more clarity and conviction that led me be courageous.
Right. I have some other questions, but we're running
We
short on
are, yeah.
time. So I'm gonna do
Story of
something
my life.
different. I mean, this is gonna
Yeah.
challenge you, okay?
Mhm.
Lightning rounds, okay? I'm gonna
Yeah.
throw 4 things at you, all of which are
Okay.
gonna be hard to answer because
Yep.
I know for me, I'd be like, ugh. So
Yeah.
first thing that comes to your mind, okay?
Mhm.
Favorite book, and I only see a million behind you.
I know. My favorite book right now is the one I'm reading, which is
Okay,
called it's not my favorite, it's a favorite. I don't have
okay,
like the
yeah,
favorite. My favorite book in the moment right now is called Shared Sisterhood, and it's written by Dr. Tina Opie and Dr. Beth Livingston, and it's all about how uh, white women and Black women, and really not just limited to that, but it's written through that, how it's in bridging our relationship, we can work together to help make significant change in equity and gender challenges.
awesome,
Shared Sisterhood. I love it. It's
very
really,
cool.
really, really powerful. And it's not just for women, right? It's written
That's
through their lens of
that's
their
good.
experience, but I want to really clarify there's a lot of really great insight. Okay. That's
Awesome.
not lightning enough. All right.
Favorite podcast, not yours.
What's the name of it? Um, it's one my husband listens to, and I just happen to always catch it. Rick, what is it called?
Nick's favorite podcast.
It's Nick's favorite. Nick, I want to yell up to him. Nick, what's your podcast?
Nick.
It's Mr. Movies is the one guy. A Weekly Planet, and
Weekly
it's
Planet.
this Weekly Planet. These two New Zealanders who like talk about movies and nerdy stuff and games, but they've been friends forever. And what I love about it is the absolute joy and trust you can tell that they have. Like it's just like we get to be part of this amazing relationship. Yeah, Weekly Planet. It's weird to say. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's one of my favorites to overhear.
Yeah, yeah. How about favorite speaker slash coach, or one or the other?
One of my favorite speakers is Kat Cole.
Okay.
She was a former executive of Yum Brands. She has an incredible career story. What I love about her is she's very real. She's not afraid to talk about like her challenges and growing as a young executive. I think she's just a total badass. One of the lessons that I've taken from her, because I'm always like, when people go, I really like the speaker, I'm like, what are you doing differently as a result? Right?
Exactly.
Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's fine to be entertained, but I have Netflix for entertainment.
Yeah.
Is she calls it the hot shot rule. So imagine that some young hot shot is pining for your position. What would they be doing differently than what you're doing to try to get it? And so how do you start doing
Ooh.
that? So the hot shot rule is something I very much like try to practice. So Kat
Nice.
Cole. Mhm.
Nice.
I love her.
And favorite movie? Yeah, I know. That's impossible for me.
Like all Christmas films? Can I just say that?
Sweet.
All
Yeah.
Christmas films?
Oh,
No,
Chris.
if the first thing that comes to mind is Nightmare
Yeah.
Before Christmas.
Nightmare
Mhm.
Before Christmas.
Mhm.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
cool.
Mhm.
Sarah, thank you so much for your time. This has been
Thanks,
a blast.
Tyler.
I'm really glad that it worked to get you on the show. What is the best way for listeners to get in touch with you? Is it social media? Is it the website? All of the above?
All of the above, depending on their needs.
Okay.
SarahNollWilson.com. Just because it's my name, we have a whole crew that's working behind and doing some amazing things. So you can check out the work that my colleagues and I are doing. But my DMs and social media are always open. So if anything piqued your interest, like you want to tell me about your panic attacks, I'm always love hearing about people's mental health. I don't love it. That sounds terrible, but I always want to be there.
Yeah.
So, but my DMs are always open. So people can always shoot me a DM on Twitter or LinkedIn.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you again, Sarah. For everybody listening, thanks for being along on this journey. I hope you can take this information and move you along, or just sit and resonate on it and think about it. But whatever you do, keep intentionally pursuing your passions. We'll talk to you all soon.
If you have questions or would like to contact us, please check out the show details for contact information. Thanks for listening to the Pursue Your Passion podcast.